Hello, friends. I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's fantastic. Everything here is really good. And I know I said yesterday, or well, I've said this week that we're going to do Q&A all week. I'm not, I'm not going to do that today. We'll do it again tomorrow and Friday. I really enjoyed talking about making boxes yesterday. But something happened yesterday, and I want to talk about it because, I mean, it's neat to me. As you might be aware, I am on this journey to revisit one of my childhood slash young adult dreams of making movies. Specifically, not necessarily movies. I'm not really interested in making long form, but I've always been very interested in short form experimental cinema because I think that I've always wanted to tell stories of some shape or form, whether it be through gaming or it be through film or it be through writing. But I think that film has the ability to, film has, it is a unique way of telling story, right? It gives you a tool set that you can't get with writing. In the same way, writing has tools that you can't get through film, right? Or you can't get it easily through film. They each have their own way of telling a story or of conveying information that is unique to the medium. And I think that film gives you an ability to be more visceral. There are things you can do. For instance, here's an example. You can't jump scare somebody with a book. There's no jump scares. There are surprising moments, sure, but there's no like, oh, what was that? There's none of that. You can't get that reaction from reading a book. Similarly, books allow you to give the reader an insight into a person's thoughts and a person's feelings much easier than it is to do with film. It's possible with film. You could do voiceover, or you could try to use color and sound and facial expressions or gestures in a way that conveys that information. And if you don't know about look, see, feel is like if I tell you this, you're going to start noticing it in everything you've ever watched. It's the idea of the way a film is edited together, where a character looks at something, they see that thing. So we see the character look, then we look and we see what the character is looking at, and then the camera comes back to the character and we get to see that character's reaction to whatever it is they're looking at. It's called look, see, feel, and it's everywhere, like everything ever. And it's this really interesting concept of where, depending on what we show you on that see part, can completely alter your perception of the reaction shot. So it's a 3-shot sequence. Look, I do this, then you look over there, and then you look back at me, and I'm going like this. Depending on what it is I show you, your interpretation of my feeling can be wildly different. And it can be wildly different between people, even. And that's kind of some of the magic of cinema. So anyway, the point is, I've always been interested in more experimental type things, not necessarily narrative stuff, but, I grew up as a huge Kubrick and David Lynch fan, and David Lynch has definitely some experimental stuff going on. I also grew up as a huge Nine Inch Nails fan, and most of Nine Inch Nails' videos, most of the music videos that I was really attracted to as a teenager were those visceral, just what am I looking at? Like anything that you can say, what is that? Is that blood on a wall? Is that, what is that pattern I'm seeing? This texture, this grunge texture has permeated my art forever. If you look at any of my games that I've designed, I use grunge textures on everything to make it look scratched, to make it look not quite clean. I don't like clean, I like texture. The point of all this that I'm saying is, I made a short film yesterday. I made a little experimental short film yesterday. It just kind of happened. It was a rainy, gloomy day. I was I heard rain on the back porch, which means my gutter's overflowing, which means I need to go empty the gutter. And I went to look at it, and as I was there, I saw a bug. And I immediately was like, oh, I've been wanting to experiment with this super high contrast, blown out, blurry, textural types filmmaking. Let me see what I can do with this. And so I got my camera, and I was looking through the dog's door, and this word, it's 2 words, it's pet safe. And the word safe, I framed it and the bug, and you could see the water running down the thing, and it was really beautiful in my head. And so I filmed this bug crawling up the outside of my dog door, and all you're seeing is like this shadowy silhouette. You see this word safe, and you see this bug moving. And so then I found some textures to film. I filmed some just weird textures around my house and various things, and I took that all into my editing software. Oh, and I set my recorder up to record the sound of rain for like 7 minutes. So I have 7 minutes of rain sounds now, and I just started messing with it. I cranked contrast. I started playing with this blurry glow feeling. I took all the saturation out, but then I found some music that was this droning, weird, experimental type music, and I started adding, these flashes of saturation in, or these flashes of brightness and darkness to go with the music. And I ended up making a little 2 minute and 5 second video, and I had a blast. It took me probably an hour and a half or maybe even 2 hours to edit. Like, there's all these little subtleties in that process that you as the viewer might not even notice until I tell you about it. Like, when you're watching that bug, pay attention to the sharpness of the image, because it kind of breathes like a heartbeat. It's kind of doing a little breathing, what people would call focus breathing if the camera was doing it, but I'm doing it in post-production. I'm making it breathe to the music. But it's really subtle. Or that flashing, just intensely huge saturation while the contrast is cranked. I did a whole bunch of little things set to the music to kind of give it a feel and a tone, and I think it's okay. Like, it's not good. I wish I could have got more shots of that bug, or maybe even another bug, like a dying fly. I'm gonna try. Every summer I get flies in my house, and they go to the windows and they die, or they fall down and they lay on their back, and I'm going to try to get some of those shots and maybe make something out of that. But I had a really interesting time doing it. I'll put a link in the description if you want to watch this little 2-minute thing. It's on the Chevee channel. It's just called Chevee. That was originally going to be like a workshop. I killed the other 2 videos that were on there. Nobody's ever, other than you guys, nobody's watched those. And that's the only video on that channel now, so you can go watch it. But it was a really interesting and fun experience. I got into it. I really got into it, and I want to try to make some more. I'm looking at my, right behind you, this garage was never fully finished. It's just taped and mudded, and they didn't sand it or anything. So there's this weird, I know that if I take some video of that seam and blow out the contrast, it's going to look really cool. That's the kind of stuff that I dreamed about making as a kid and did not have the technology to do it. And now, with a free editing software, I still use Shotcut, free editing software, Audacity to clean up some of the audio and to play with the audio a little bit, and just the free tools that are available inside of Shotcut, I was able to make something that as a kid I thought took thousands. I mean, it did. When I was a kid, that took thousands of dollars worth of equipment. Now it was a $500 camera and a free piece of software, and I could make a neat little experimental thing. So it was a blast making it. It's not for everybody, obviously. It's just some weird experimental film, but I'm kind of proud of it, And I'm proud that I just said screw it and let it go into the world. I probably could spend another hour or 2 editing it and cut some more shots in to make it a little bit more visually interesting, but I'm happy with it the way it is. So yeah, we will get back to the question and answers tomorrow. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know to sound smart is meritocracy. Meritocracy. It is a noun meaning government or leadership by people having great merit rather than people with great wealth. Corporate leadership as family-owned business is determined by nepotism, not meritocracy. 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 I think that, in any system, is a true meritocracy ever really a thing? I'm curious. I'm genuinely curious. I think that eventually wealth bubbles to the top.